Okay, let's move to this perspective. Now, so the way I do my corners, let me just sew this part. Just sew this back here. I'll use a... Okay, so I've sewn it, 1, 2, 3, knotted it. Now, let's knock off this extra bit. Now, if this was a raw edge, I could do a hospital corner, as you can see, like that, and fold it like that, and then down like that. But because we have a finished edge, I'm just going to fold it down like so. I'm going to temporarily hold that with a pin. I don't usually bother, but for this video, I will. And I'm going to switch. Actually, no, I'm going to use a little more gray thread because this is going to be visible, but as soon as I reach about here, I'll switch to black thread. Again, I'm conserving the amount of gray thread I have. I can switch to black thread for this part because it won't matter, it'll be out of sight. Okay. Another amusing episode of watching me try to thread a needle with my elderly eyes. Using the correct bit of thread. Hold on, let's give that its pinch. Get that out of the way. I'm watching the clock. I'm being efficient without actually rushing. Come on, get in there. Honestly. Bit of extra wax on that thread end. There we go. Okay. Get that out of the way. Tie the knot. Cut it short. Right. Back stitch. 1, 2, 3. Why am I counting stitches? I don't know. See? There, nicely finished end, a nicely finished fold. And now I'm just sort of lacing it down. See, it's about 1 stitch every, I don't know, width of my thumb or so, which is around 1 inch, maybe a little bit less, let's say 3/4 of an inch. Not my thumb, but the stitch. Because, see, I'm catching the canvas, I'm not, well, can just see the needle there, but once again, the stitch is parallel to the grain of the twill. So it's going to be very hard to see indeed, but I'm doing my best not to go to the outside, because what we're doing here is capturing the canvas so it doesn't sag, right? I mean, it's already stitched there, it's stitched here, but it could possibly sag a bit there, so. Pulling it over so it's, okay, that's a place to stop. I don't have to bother knotting it because I'm going to tie a new piece of thread directly into it. Okay, let's switch to thread that I have a great deal of. Bit of wax. Well, I'll be well pleased if I have this done before the knock on the door. Or at least I'm sufficiently well advanced now that even if he was to knock on the door this direct minute, I wouldn't have to tear the thing out to redo it again. Okay. You heard that click. That was that thread breaking because I pinched it a little. Okay, pinched it a little too tightly and actually exceeded the breaking strain of the thread, which really says something about my grip strength. Okay. Draw that through and then tie it off. 1, 2, 3, and then resume. I'll trim the clues after I'm done. Right now, I'm primarily concerned with getting the work done. See that there? There's the end of one of my rows of stitching. So I'm going to tie this off to my inner stitch, and I'm going to do this with each one that I come to. 1, 2, 3. 3, it would be 3 in a minute. Come on. 3. And it just gives that extra amount of security, you know. Come on. What are you doing here, thread? Oh, there's a knot. Okay. I dislike knots. I'm just going to trim the bitter end off as close as ever I can. With luck, the knot will spill as I continue sewing. Also, there's a chance that the thread's going to break. We'll see how that goes. Come on. Come on, you thing. Well, if it breaks, it breaks. I'll just tie the new piece. It's literally not worth the time to diddle about with it. Now this very long stitch may look a bit questionable, but remember, when I come along and sew in the lining, that seam will be sewing through the wool, but it'll also be sewing through the canvas, so it'll be, this one's almost redundant. Basically, this stitch is simply nothing more to hold it in place. It's basting, if you will, to hold the top band in place for later on when I put in the lining. Okay. I'm get near the end of this. In fact, let's just end this here. Yeah. And that. I'm going to leave these bastes in that you see. You know, I basted the aprons and the pleats and everything else. I'm going to leave them in till about the end. I think I told a story about when I was in the Army working in quartermaster stores. When people would turn in their kilts, we would baste them the way that you've seen me do it for pressing, but we would baste them for storage. And I've since learned that it's not strictly necessary if you roll the kilt up and put it away properly. Come on. There we go. Good. And now I recall there's a clue sticking. There it is right there. That's that first length of thread. So I'm going to tie that off as I sew past it. And we have between 15 and 45 minutes left before he taps on the door. Don't panic, McDonald. Where are you? Okay, let's just backstitch that once to hold the tension, and there's my final clue. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. That just adds a little too much bulk. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to relieve that just to remove a little bit extra bulk. Okay. Yeah, that'll work. You just watch, it'll be, I'll have slightly less than the amount of thread needed to finish the stitch. So I'll have to tie in one last piece, but that pretty much is part of the course. Now again, I'm doing that nice, neat fold. Again, if this was a raw edge we were working with, I would, crumbs. Okay. I'm just going to pin that because I've got it nicely together with my fingers, and I don't want it to fall apart. And it fell apart. Okay, come on. Yeah. Okay. Is that going to be long enough? Oh, why bother fiddling with it? Let's just... That's right, I want gray right there anyway. Okay, it's actually working out to my advantage. I'm going to cheat a bit. I'm just going to grab a needle. That one, the eye on that one's no larger than any of the others. That needle has a larger eye. Okay. Okay, one. Yeah, it helps if I put the thread through the end of the needle that has the eye in it. I'd mentioned sewing a seam and thinking that the needle was getting dull, but I'd actually reversed the needle so that I was pushing the blunt end through and the sharp end was resting against that callus. There we go. Okay. It would be really cool if one of the side effects of these videos that I've been posting is that in the next however long, 10, 20 years, there becomes an uptick in the number of left-handed kilt makers out there. That would be cool. Okay, let's fold that. I'm gonna relieve that corner because it's annoying me. Okay, let's do that a little more neatly than that. Okay, that'll do. There we are. Okay, let's put those shears away. Let's put that pin away. The wax can go away. Now, if the laws of narration were actually a physical law in the universe, the narrative imperative, could we call it that? If that was the case, the customer would be knocking on the door right about now. 1, 2, 3. And knotted. Good, nice and neat. 1, 3. Knot it. Second time. Let's just bury that knot. Let's just hide that. Good, there we are. Okay. I'm going to rate this as an achievement. All right, so let's go back and find all of those nasty long clues that I left uncut. And there's one, and there's one, and there's one, and there's one, and there's my signature hidden. If I was still a Freemason, I'd say something about covering my work. Here we go. All set for the client to turn up. Now what I can do, I can get rid of these bastes because they're no longer necessary. They've served their purpose. Probably don't have time to heat up the iron to press out that bit of wax chalk, but That's all right. I'm not using anything sharper than a fingernail to pull out these bastes because it would just about break my heart to damage the cloth. Okay. We can leave that for now. Those are my 2 marks to show where the plate is going to hang, but I'm going to double check that when the client shows up. There's my mark to show where the end of the strap should go. Whether that translates to reality remains to be seen. Come on. Okay. Right. Let's get rid of the rest of this just because I can. It's got to come out anyway before I put the lining in. And again, you know, I used to think that spending all this time basting represented wasted effort, but anything but, because the bastes hold the work and make the process easier. Okay, there's another chalk line there I have to iron out. Come on, there we go. Hang that out the way. Just turn you over. You can come out. I'm going to leave those bastes in because I still have to sew those down. I might try to do that because he hasn't knocked on the door yet, so. Come on, there we go. In fact, I've got the time. Let's do that. There's the, remember the fold back so that the bottom of the deep pleat didn't project below the apron. Now I'm leaving that mark in because that's the center pleat. So when I'm fitting it to him, I can tell at a glance whether the kilt is like that's dead center in the small of his back. Get rid of this one as well. Come on. Seems I double sewed this. Cool. Okay. And yes. Okay. Yet another job for a bit of gray thread. Oh. 5 to 12, so he's going to be certainly within the next half hour. Okay, where's that needle? There you are. Come on, I have to admit I'm starting to hurry just a little bit right now. And one. Okay, and snip. Now we pull out the base. I'm breaking my own rule. I'm using, instead of my fingernail, I'm using the butt end of the needle, but I'm being very careful that I'm not tugging at the cloth. Okay, so making sure that the details are lined up, that they're not askew. I start at the end here. And this is rather an open stitch. It's kind of a zigzag stitch because on both sides of the cloth, the thread is, yes, you guessed it, keeping the same angle as the twill in the cloth. So it's there, but it's rather hard to see. Again, I'm manipulating the cloth so that this red line would want to be out of line because of the, I don't know, just the way it's folded or something, but give it a bit of a tweak and it's in place. Just a second ago, I thought I heard steps in the path just outside the shop door. It just occurred to me as you watch me do this that when I'm doing alterations for people, I tend to, I can do it while they wait, but I don't prefer to have them sitting 1, 2, 3 and watching me while I'm doing it, not because of any desire to like hide my methods, but on a couple of times I've had somebody watch me do something and I charge, and I tell him how much it cost, and he says, why? He says, that took 15 minutes. I says, no, it actually took 50 years. You just saw the last couple of minutes of it because that's the years of practice and refining my technique and such like that. Okay, there we go. Cue the cheering noises. I have got the kilt ready for him, so he'll show up, I'll fit it to him, I'll attach that strap, off he'll go to his first consultation with modernized tailors, and I'm going to point out those 2 tiny imperfections, which are knots on the back side of the cloth, and strictly abjure him to not touch them, to leave them alone. Okay, good. I feel good about that. Right on. I'm going to sign off now. I'll talk to you guys later when I think this afternoon I'll be working on the shoulder blade. And I think I hear him coming up the walk. So I'm going to turn this off so people don't think that I'm talking to myself.